Today on Core Conversations, we have Micki. She has not missed a beat with her online presence due to this COVID-19 quarantine. Listen today as she talks about the power of social media, the importance of taking care of the friends you already have, and also how imperative it is for us to, how can I say it, not wait till you're ready to be ready. That's work for her. She's got so many nuggets, so many pieces of wisdom for us. Enjoy the conversation.
I really went in with an intention of studying pre-med, and then I took one zoology class, and I was like, I don't like this, and I'm not smart enough.
Oh, no.
So I was like, let me change so that I don't fail.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me a 3 DVD set of Mari Windsor for my birthday, and probably like 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is this? So, I had taken yoga before, ran track, since I was probably 8 or 9 years old. So, we did yoga-ish stuff. But then when I started doing these videos, like, this is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started Pilates, in my, my parents' basement, during Mari Windsor. And then I was getting married in 99. And this is when I thought I needed to lose weight.
Right.
Like when you're in your 20s and you think, like, little did we know that was the best we ever were going to look.
Yeah.
But so I started doing Pilates like really intently because it's like, I really want to fit in this dress. And I really fell in love with the practice.
Yes.
And so, yeah, after that, I got married. And in my past, I was a buyer for a retail store. That's what I did. I was a fashion buyer. And so my husband was in restaurant business. We both worked really long hours, traveled. He traveled. And when we decided we wanted to have our son, we were like, something has to give. Like, I can't travel all the time. You can't work these long hours. How are we going to do it? So we decided that I would stop working full time. And when I started back to work, I decided I wanted to get certified in Pilates because I knew I could do my own schedule.
Yes.
So that's how I started. I mean, I started kind of out of, not just the love of it, but just a necessity. I knew that I wanted to continue to work in some capacity, but I also knew that I needed to have a flexible schedule. So that's how I started Pilates, and I started teaching shortly after I had my son, and I've been teaching ever since.
Where did you do your course originally?
Through Power Pilates in Atlanta. I don't know if it's still there. It was in Dunwoody at the time. I don't know if it's still there, but there was a small studio where I was taking classes, and my instructor said that you should really consider becoming a teacher. Like, I think you're a natural. So that's where I took my first course, and then I took it's so funny like how much has changed.
Yes.
And I took a course through that Pilates studio, and it was pretty intense. And mat 1 and mat 2. I'm not a comprehensive teacher, but it was a pretty intense mat class, a mat certification.
Yeah.
And then after that, like all these little 8-hour courses start cropping up everywhere because it became popular. And I was like, how can you get certified for Pilates on a Saturday?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was just funny how once it got really popular, how the certifications got watered down, which is scary actually.
It is. Yeah. Because it becomes a money grab to some degree.
Yep. Absolutely.
And do you have a personal training background as well?
I do.
Yeah.
So exactly. So personal training through ACE, NASM, ISSA, and I did a lot of personal training before I got heavy into Pilates. Actually, did a lot of one-on-one training with athletes, and that really influenced my style because I have kind of athletic edge to all my Pilates inspiration, and
Yeah, I'm the same. It's funny how coming from a personal training world and bringing that to
Hmm.
Pilates, it really you bring a different lens to the Pilates to the mat, so to speak, right?
Absolutely.
And I like that because then you know where you have such a big toolbox after that. You can reach for different exercises and bring them back to Pilates once you've got that range of motion, you've got that strength to do an exercise. So
Yeah.
it's neat how those things tie together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just the need for clients. I was doing work with like high school football players,
Okay.
and and not that Pilates is not difficult because we know it is, but just tailoring it to make them want to do it, to make it look less feminine
Yes.
because they weren't really into it. Even though I knew that it was effective, I had to
Hmm.
put a little edge on a masculine edge, to make
Yes.
them, want to do it. And they were, I mean, I'm working with all African American men, young men.
Right.
So I was like, well, I want to bring it to them how, you have to start, where people are.
Hmm.
And so I brought it to them in that way, and I definitely was received, a lot differently because
Yes.
I had failed, you're trying to bring it to them another way. I was like, well, this is not working. You have
Yes.
to tailor, to your clients. So
Yeah. So say a little bit more about that. So what did you do that didn't work with them?
when I first started with my first group of guys, I just came in with my classically trained moves,
Right.
and and I knew that I knew that it was effective, but they were embarrassed to do the moves.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are 14, 15, 16-year-old boys. So, they're making fun of each other. They're
Yeah. They
laughing.
giggled their way through it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, this is not going to work because they weren't taking it seriously enough. And so I was like, well, let me change, the way I approach it.
Hmm.
So I just started tweaking some of the classic moves. And what I did was I would like infuse more athletic moves. So if I was doing a lunge, then I would do like a lunge and then add 100 arms.
Yes.
If I was doing a squat, then I may add, like a little, Pilates. So I just started
Yes.
infusing that and
Hmm.
tried to make things more athletic. And it definitely worked because one, they stopped laughing at me and each other,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and and two, they couldn't laugh because it was
They're
super
just
hard.
too. Yeah. Exactly. They're just too tired to laugh. Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh
Yeah.
wait, okay, Miss Micki, you're right, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you got them.
Yeah, so yeah, that's just one of those things where I think we have to be willing to change and be fluid, you know,
Right. Yeah.
not just in our movement but in our thoughts.
And our thoughts exactly, and just
Yeah,
you have to figure out the language that the people that you're in front of will understand for sure.
absolutely.
Just want to say hello to all of your people who came on,
Hey,
like from
peoples.
look at this man, like Chile, hi from Iran.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, this is crazy. You got a great crowd of fans here, Ricky.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Mm.
I'm sorry I don't know if I even posted it. I was like rushing to go to my Zoom class, like downstairs. I was
Brazil.
rushing to go downstairs
Oh yes, long commute. Yes, yes.
to my Zoom class. So, hey, Detroit.
Hey, Detroit. So you're in Atlanta right now?
I'm in Atlanta. I live in Decatur, which is right outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, I grew up probably about 8 miles from where I live now, and went to Howard University and stayed there for a few
Oh, nice.
years,
Okay.
and then moved back to Atlanta. All my whole family's here. My siblings and my parents. Yeah, I
Right.
um I really went in with an intention of studying pre-med, and then I took one zoology class and I was like, I don't like this and I'm not smart enough.
Oh, no.
So I was like, let me change so that I don't fail.
People get caught up in the number of followers that people have, right?
Absolutely.
And you have a massive number of followers, but I just want to like dig deeper with that in terms of
Hmm.
um, how did you make your business strategy? Like, what made you decide to go online? Like, I know you said about, just wanting to be more available at home and all those different things, but how did you come up with that strategy with all of your content and everything?
Well, uh, the what I really started thinking of is, how long do I want to have to be somewhere to make money? Because if you're, I mean, we're in the service business. I mean, we're no different than a barber or, you know, or a landscape, you know, person.
Everything
We have
costs
to
you an
be
hour.
there.
Yeah.
Yes, in order to make money. So I was trying to figure out, like, how can I create a beyond the mat plan? Because I mean, I'm 50 years old. I'll be 51 in a few months, and I was like, Pilates is something you can do for a long time, and it's not that I don't want to teach Pilates. It's that I don't want to have to be in one location in order to reach people. Yes. So I stopped teaching in studios about 3 years ago, and my husband did my studio in my house for me. And it's literally just a 400 square foot room in my home, you know, with equipment. And so once I did that, a lot of my students, you know, were asking, well, Micki, can you do a DVD? You know, what are you going to do? We still want to do, you know, Pilates with you. So that's really what drove me to do the online studio, along with just wanting to create a plan to get off the mat.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. So do you have a lot of people coming into your home now, or do you just create content there?
I only have, well, before Corona, yes.
Yes.
So before COVID-19, yes, I have just one-on-one clients that come into my studio, and I only do one-on-ones. When I first started, I did duets because I have enough space to do duets, but it's really hard to find two students that are, you know, close enough to on the same skill level to do duet class.
Yes.
So
and keep them both challenged and moving.
Exactly.
And all that stuff.
Yeah. So that I did duets for maybe like 6 months and it just didn't work out. So then I just started doing one-on-ones. So pre-COVID-19, yes, I had just, you know, 5 clients come into my home. Some women were doing once a week, twice a week. So that was the whole biz. And once the pandemic happened, I would all about maybe like 30% of my students wanted to do Zoom. And I have a variety of students. I have athletes and I have seniors. So I have that broad range.
That's wide,
and
yes.
Yeah. So I knew that I was going to lose, you know, some clients. I'm sure people have. But so about a third of the students now do Zoom, and I'm okay with that because I still have people who, you know, do my online classes. And, you know, some people just don't like the disconnect from Zoom. I think people feel, you know, they feel disconnected, even though, you know, there's a type of connection. So I wasn't surprised.
With Pilates is that touch, right? Like
Absolutely.
your tactile cues are so valuable.
Yep.
And, you know, when you stop and think about it, I realize sometimes like walk away from a class, like that might be the only time that someone is actually touching somebody.
I totally agree. And I mean, I have, before I stopped teaching my classes, I had a total senior Pilates class.
Okay.
And it was my absolute favorite class and the hardest class for me to leave because I knew that so many of those students lived alone. And that contact that they had with the other students, that was their socialization, plus my tactile cues may have been all the touch that they got, you know, in that day. Yeah. So I totally agree. I mean, I don't mind Zoom, but I actually feel more mentally exhausted after teaching a Zoom class than I ever have teaching a one-on-one class.
Right.
And I mean, as you know, being in someone's space is mentally taxing.
Yes.
And, you know, just giving and pouring. But I find it even more mentally taxing to try to attempt to do the same thing, you know, via Zoom. So, yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. And, you know, we're using a different part of our brain.
Yep.
For one, we're hyper aware because now I have to depend on super sharp verbal cues because I can't just get on the mat and demonstrate it for you from an angle that you can see it properly. Yeah, so it is tired.
It is.
It's good though. I love what you're saying about older adults. I call them my super seniors.
Absolutely.
You know, so what are some of your keys for working with older adults when it comes to Pilates?
Well, I think the biggest key is obviously modifications, but really thinking outside of your box. And that's when I kind of started thinking about my chair classes, because I had many seniors that couldn't get up or down from the mat.
Right.
And I, when I used to teach at the Y near my house, and they had massage tables and a stepping stool. And I taught 4 students at a time in a really small class, and they would get up onto the massage table because it was something without having to get up on the floor. And I was like, well, that's awesome. But who has massage tables and a stepping stool at home, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I started doing some chair exercises because, you know, that was something they could do. And so I just think, you know, really thinking about touching marginalized communities, and that may be someone that, you know, is unable to get up and down. It may be someone that, you know, has limited mobility because of physical injury. It could be someone who is obese. It could be, you know, there's so many reasons. So
Yes.
I mean, just modifications and education.
Yes.
So definitely, I did 2 courses in senior fitness before I started teaching my chair fit classes, because, you know, you can't be too careful, you know, with
Right.
that,
Exactly.
you know, that segment of our, you know, of our community.
Right. Yeah. There's one of the catchphrases that are coming up a lot more in fitness is accessibility.
Yes.
And for myself, firsthand experiencing that with a lady who had a visual impairment in my class. And that was really cool to see her going through the process of doing a class, and me having to be really, really super sharp with your cues once again when they can't see you.
Right.
And they can just, she could see shadows, but she really couldn't see much. So
Wow.
then having to do the class with, oh, there's Fitz. That's one of the gentlemen that I train in the mornings with my dad.
Hey there.
So Fitz is there. I hardly consider him a senior too. He's way too athletic to fall into this class. But
I love that.
it's too funny. But yeah, but just it was just interesting with her how with a visual impairment, how she was so keen to get into the class and to move and to do what she can. And yeah, it was humbling, because you have to really take care with the way that you do things and the way that you communicate.
Absolutely. I mean, and my goal has always been to expose as many people to movement as possible. And I'm, you know, not necessarily Pilates, but just movement, you know.
Yes.
So, and, you know, be it a senior, be it, you know, a teenage boy, you know, a Black teenage kid that would not even think about doing Pilates, you know, to,
Yes.
I mean, to someone that has limited mobility. So that's my goal. I mean, I know that just from my experience as a Black instructor, just the elitist feeling that is a part of Pilates, especially when I started doing it almost 20 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, every training that I went to, every conference that I went to, at that point, I was the only Black face.
Yes.
I mean, never saw a Black instructor, never saw a Black teacher trainer. And, you know, 20 years ago, never did.
Never. Yeah.
So, you know, once I started teaching, I mean, I purposely taught at the YMCA in the neighborhood where I knew I was going to come in contact with people of color. I purposely taught my athletic training at, you know, majority Black schools. I purposely taught with, you know, nonprofit organizations that cater to, you know, young Black girls, because I really want to let everyone be exposed, not just, you know, someone that can afford, you know, a $75 per hour, you know, course.
Yes. That's amazing. I mean, it seems so common sense, but rare at the same time.
It totally is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also think that, like, when you're in that space and you let that, you know, elite mindset, you know, kind of seep in. I mean, I think that even good people kind of forget that you're in this to really move people, you know, not a small segment of, you know, society. So
yes, no, it's true.
Yeah.
For that reason, I changed my title from Pilates coach or personal trainer to movement specialist.
I love it.
You know, just thinking about the generalization of movement and the passion for movement. Christy Cut over here. Yes, New Orleans. I'm only one Black instructor. Man, I don't even know what Pilates is. And it's such a great workout. It's so true. And you have such a different life experience down there from me up here in Toronto, where it's so eclectic, right? So between yourself and Micki talking about that yesterday as well, it's something that needs to be heard and it needs to be, recognized. See more teachers of color and more Black men coming into yoga is such a blessing. It's funny just talking about the elitist side of it and getting sucked into it. Now that you say that, I think about that, Micki, how in many ways I got sucked into that too, from the perspective of saying, okay, there's not too many men teaching Pilates, and there's definitely not too many brothers teaching Pilates.
Absolutely.
Right. So I'm gonna get in there and have a corner on the market because of the uniqueness of who I am.
Right.
Which in one way is good, but then the other way is just saying like I can make a lot of money because I'm the novelty here, right?
Right.
So I've had to check that, and when I run a class and here on our online world, Zoom classes, like how much do I charge for it? Is the purpose to make money on these Zoom classes, or is the purpose to touch as many people as possible?
Yeah, and I think that I mean it's such a fine line, it's that balance to take,
Yeah, the answer is both, really.
Right. I mean, because I mean, well, you have to make money, obviously, but you do want to expose people, so it's one of those things where, hey, Karen, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you don't want to undersell yourself, but you don't want to, exclude an entire segment. And so things like, doing workshops where, it's affordable for, a large number of people to come to your workshop, and same with, a Zoom class. I mean, I'm talking post-pandemic.
Right.
So, I mean, we're going to get out of it, right? So like, post-pandemic, being, I'll have like workshops where it's, Pilates 101. And, it's a lot less expensive than a one-on-one class with me, obviously, or my online studio, which is $9 a month. And so, that's an affordable, way to, to have some kind of Pilates in your life. Yes. So, I just think we just have to kind of walk that line. Right. And it's just really hard because you don't want to undersell your value, but you don't want to exclude. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that's where trust comes in.
Absolutely.
Where like one of the guys I had on earlier last week was talking about when people like you, know you, and trust you in your brand, right? Like they see all of your content, they feel like they know you and they're familiar with you because of everything you're doing, and then they trust you that if you set a price that they're going to get value for that price and you're not gouging. And I'm sure every trainer has people in their roster that's paying nothing because you just love working with them.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the questions I like to ask too. Like, who is your ideal client? You mentioned athletes. You mentioned the seniors. Like, who is the person that you would train for free for the rest of your life if they walked in your door?
The person I would train for free would be, I would say a senior anybody in the senior segment. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Just and it's funny because every time I left the class I knew that they couldn't wait for the next class, and they were trying harder than many of my athletic clients.
Yeah.
But also I think the biggest reason is because they no longer take movement for granted.
Right.
And just the small victories that we see, as a small victory, they are huge. Yes. I have people who had hip replacements, knee replacements, spinal fusions, and just so many limitations that we just take the movement for granted. The fact that we getting up off of a mat, sitting down in a chair. I mean, things like that. So I definitely would teach seniors for free because I had totally taken my movement for granted until I start teaching those students.
Yeah, if Fitz is on there, I'm going to just share a bit of his story. He's been with me for a long time, and he went to, if he's on here and wants to correct me on any of the
Hey, Megan, yes, seniors. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, he was, and he did judo when he was younger. Mm-hmm. So he was invited back to a belting ceremony at a studio where his friend teaches, and decided to wear his gi and enjoyed it and all those things, and decided in his 70s to get back to judo.
Wow.
and he's been going, like before this, obviously he was going every week. And, there were some older guys there, and they would just, stand around during the warm up and then do their throws and whatnot. He would do the full workout, do the push-ups, do everything the young people are doing and stuff like that. And Pilates has given him so much more freedom of movement in his knees and his shoulders and stuff that, like, I put posts up there of him doing his judo rolls, and that kind of stuff is just like,
yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. This is why we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely, I mean, my mother my mom's 78, and she's like extremely healthy. She ran marathons when she was, like out well, younger, I guess, but she's just always been super active.
Yes.
And she had her knee replaced about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And her doctor was amazed at how quickly, hey cousin, how quickly she recovered. And he said,
Yes.
he said, I see people come in the office for 2 reasons to get a knee replacement. The first one is normally inactivity and overweight.
Right.
And the second is activity.
Yeah.
And he was like, you literally wore your knee out by, yeah. He's like, but that will benefit you in your recovery. And I mean, her recovery was amazing. Like she was a models, student in her physical therapy class. She did all of her moves, but she rebounded so quickly because of, taking Pilates and yoga and strength class and walking. So, I mean, It really is so nice to see when people have poured that much into themselves.
Yes.
And you can see that benefit that's reaped when you have seniors in your class that have been active all their life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even as Fitz is saying all because of Martin, and I'm saying all because of Fitz, right?
That's right.
So reciprocating, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're coaches, and I always say, when people come, it's like, I can't do the workout for you. I can just teach you how to do it. It's all you, it's all you. You're doing all the work. I'm just here, instructing, but it's all you.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I always say I come alongside you in your fitness journey. Like, I'm not here to do your journey for you.
Absolutely.
And at the same time that I love working with seniors, I have to say the one time that I have that 13, 14-year-old boy or girl that discovers movement for the first time, it's fascinating how it is exactly the same as that senior that is appreciating
I totally
movement.
Agree.
It's like, it's so like young and old, it's the same pendulum. And I love that when their eyes just light up and they just take ownership of it for the first time. Even clients now that I have in my, that are in their 50s, and this is the first time, Pilates is the first time that they have found movement that works for them.
Yeah.
It's amazing when, they weren't an athlete when they grew up, they weren't in physical education, whatever. And then they discover movement and the light bulb goes off.
Yeah, I agree. It's so rewarding. So I have a son, I'm sure you see him every now and then, like in some of my videos. And when I first tried to convince him to do Pilates, he was like, "Oh, okay, mom." Mm-hmm. And so I showed him. I kept on sending him little DMs of Nikita and her NFL players. So so like every other week I would just send a little post, with Nikita working with a Raider or Right. And so like by the 10th DM, he was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Okay, maybe it does work." I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, perhaps.
The light bulb went off.
Yes. How old is he?
He's 16.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. My 13-year-old is like, "Hey, look, LeBron's doing it. Hey, look, this old picture of Kobe. Hey, look at this." Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had to use that, that influence of other athletes, which worked. Yeah.
Right. It's so
whatever
funny.
It takes.
The parent's voice just means nothing, eh?
Oh no. Especially me, I'm a mom, a girl, basically. Like you're a girl. Like what could you know?
Yes. Meanwhile, I'll pay my son to teach, like to be in the background when I'm teaching my ballers class. Or like,
I love it.
Like just like, ownership or whatever. But yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, just that love of movement in general is just something really cool to see. Have you ever thought about opening your own studio outside of your home?
When I first, probably like in the first 5 or 6 years, my husband would ask, like, do you want to have a studio? Do you want to open, brick and mortar? And I did kind of toggle with it. But then when I really figured out the amount of time and that you have to put in, I was like, okay, so if I had, all my instructors quit on the same day, and I had to teach, 24 classes a week in order to pay the mortgage. And when I figured that out, I knew that it wasn't for me. And, it's different for different people, but when I really figured out how much time and how I had to spend at that space, then I never wanted a brick and mortar after that.
Yeah. And, it's so funny how it all comes down to how risk averse we are and how we're wired too, right? Because I know people that look at the bricks and mortar, and, this is the conversation I really want to have, is bricks and mortar versus this consulting model that you and I have.
Right.
It's with a bricks and mortar, there's the advantage of having a space. If you build it, they will come.
Absolutely.
Kind of mindset, right? And then you leverage that, and then you can be there, and it's making money when you're not there and all this stuff.
Right.
Whereas they look at us and they're like, well, like you said, I have to be on the mat to be making money. My hour is, what I mean? So there's the balance to two, right?
Absolutely. It's just a personality thing. And I just never wanted to have that responsibility of paying a mortgage,
Yes.
Per leg lift.
Right. Yes. Well, yeah, and I had an opportunity at one point to open a space in a mall close by, and it would have been the first Pilates studio in a mall, as these malls are now in Canada are shifting more to more of a health and leisure destination as well as a mall, and you'll see like the mall walkers and the yoga classes and stuff.
Yeah.
So, they approached me about this process, and so I looked into it, and it was going to be $5,000 a month.
Oh my gosh.
Before getting equipment in there, before overhead, all these different things. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000. So it's gonna be a lot of money, but then they also see 50,000 people a week, right? Like passing through, more than that, maybe 50,000 a day. So you trade off the traffic, all those different things. And one of my mentors, I was saying it to him, he goes, if it's $5,000 for rent, you have to make $60,000 before you make a penny.
Yes.
And it stopped me in my tracks, right? There was no sense of ambition, like, I can make $1 million. It was like, nope. It's like,
same with me. That's just like my personality. Like when I crunched the numbers and figured out how many hours I would have to spend in there, I couldn't do it.
No.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone that works with you right now? Any business partners?
I have 0 business partners. My husband is my only partner in that he does a lot of video editing for me.
Okay. Yep.
And his business is marketing, so that doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt at all.
So he's a marketing guy. He has a marketing agency, so that doesn't hurt. But no, I don't. I started with a friend of mine doing just helping consult with her yoga studio, but never partner. Being a partner, just a little consulting here and there when she first opened her studio. But no partners, just me. Yeah.
It's, that little asterisk. Oh yeah, by the way, my husband's in marketing.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. That's the whole thing. Like it's
the whole thing.
Yeah. That is so key. That's your partner. That's the one who is like, my wife is the same, like amazing with the core conversations, logos, and even the name, like all that stuff comes from her, right? So
no, it's major, but it's funny when we're talking a little bit about the followers, number of followers, and what that means, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it does mean something in some way, and in many ways, it doesn't mean anything, obviously. But people when I guess maybe a couple of years ago, when it's people started really paying attention to numbers, and people would always DM me and say, well, Micki, how do you build your followership? What's going on? What are you doing? And I mean, even without having a marketing husband, I was like, you have to be consistent.
Yes.
You have to have good content. And you have to actually engage, because it's social media. Like you can't just throw something up there and never engage with your audience. So I think that people, forget that part of the social part of social media, that people actually want to talk to you. People actually, expect for you to engage. And if you don't engage, then your engagement will drop. And, it's a lot more work than people, think it is. And, we're not rocket scientists, I'm not, a brain surgeon, but, I put time into, I curate my image, I curate my content. I definitely, set aside, a full day to do just video shooting, and that's just for Instagram. It has nothing to do with my online studio.
Yes.
So yeah, just like really taking it as seriously as I would, something that's not online. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, you do such a good job with that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, it's really, and you're saying like you're connected with your audience. Obviously, because you see like scores of people just saying, I love you, I love you, I love you here.
I think that people make the mistake of chasing the number instead of connecting with who they have. So
Yes.
a friend of mine that was, building her audience, and she has a good number of followers too, but she asked, she's like, so Micki, how do you get more followers? And I said, well, the question really should be, how do I retain my current followers? Like you already have people who follow you, right?
Right.
So why aren't you pouring into those people? It's so, that's the importance, really pouring into who you have, not trying to constantly grab for new.
Chase for the new. It's so true. Well, is that the same in real life? I mean, like, why would you try and get 10 more friends when you're not doing a good job of taking care of the friends you have?
Hey, Sonia. Exactly. Like, why? Like, I don't, but that number and the likes, it can get, to people's self-esteem and, so it's really one of those things where you have to really check yourself. Go into the park and someone, hey, Micki, I know you, I follow you. And it was weird at first, but
Great, yes.
But you have to, you have to really stay connected with why you're doing it and, who you really are. So, yeah.
Yes. Hi, Noam's there as well.
Hey, Beth.
Pilates and Beth. Yeah, it's one time, I think last year, I was playing basketball on the driveway with my son, and some guy is walking by. He's like, hey, real men do Pilates. And my son's like, who is that? And I'm
like, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when that happens. And that just speaks volumes to what you're doing. So doing some really cool stuff there. What about mentoring? Do you have people that reach out to you and say, like, I want to have what you have?
Yes.
Show me the way.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm always surprised at how few people ask, because this is a piece of advice that my husband gave me a long time ago when I first started, and he was like, if you really are respect what someone's doing, ask them. Just ask them. Will you mentor me? And it doesn't have to be a weekly thing, a monthly thing, but reach out. And there are very few people who ask me. But I will say that when people ask, I mean, of course, number one, I'm flattered, and number two, there's enough out here for all of us. So I'm always wanting to help. And so yeah, when people ask me, you can ask me anything. I'll get a DM that will ask me about how to do this, or how what camera do you use, what platform do you use? Like I have no reason not to tell you. Like, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen to me if I don't give information.
Right. It's so true. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah. So I do have a couple of people that I mentor, like, pretty personally. And one girl she's not a Pilates instructor, but she is into fitness. And there's another young lady who is getting ready to go to college. And so I mentor her, and it has nothing to do with fitness. It's just
being an awesome person.
Just trying to be a giver,
Yes.
So yeah.
No doubt. Can you talk about some of the technical stuff, like what kind of camera you use and all the different things for those out there who are
listening? So for Instagram, iPhone 11. That's all I use.
Okay.
That's all I use for my Instagram. Just 4K, video. 11, that's it. That's all I use for Instagram. I don't use anything special for Instagram.
Yeah.
Let me look at this camera. Hold on.
This is some technical stuff, people. Just so you.
Yeah. So for my online studio, I use this is a Sony.
Okay.
Camera that has a video, feature. Right. And I literally have a tripod, and it's just me. It's just me in here. And when I first started, I did like a couple challenges. This is before Micki Fit. It was before my Pilates studio. I did a couple online studios on my website. And it was just like a combination of like HIIT and Pilates and stuff. And I did have like a camera crew, meaning my husband and like one of his friends. Right. And I ran out of space, and I did all this stuff. And it was so expensive that, I ended up making, maybe breaking even.
Yeah. Right.
And when I started looking on, at content at other people that I followed, that's another piece of advice that I'll give in a second.
Yes.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's just a single camera with a
Mm-hmm.
person on a mat and they're doing it. So I think there are three things I'll say about that. One is I think that we try to wait until we have what we think we need to have to start doing something.
Right.
And that's one big mistake. Mm-hmm. Two, I think that we look at other people and we're thinking it's much bigger than it is. And so that just makes us intimidated. Right. And
right.
Three,
Yeah.
I just think that, ask people what is going on. And if one person doesn't give you information, then ask another person and just keep on until because I ask people, the people that I admire in the industry. I asked Tracy Mallet, I asked Lisa Hubbard, I asked Leslie Logan. I just asked them questions. I asked Sonia Huber. I asked people questions. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised that they're willing to tell you things. And
right. Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I encourage people to do the same thing. Ask. Yeah, ask. Yeah. So yeah, for my online thing, it's a camera and a tripod, and on my Instagram, it's a phone and a tripod. Like that's it.
That's it. How do you edit it? Like, do you any specific editing software, or just like whatever?
So for my online studio, my husband does all the editing. I don't do any of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, because he does like sound editing, video editing. I have no idea how to do that. So luckily, I have that free service.
So marry the right guy, basically.
Yeah, there you go. So that's how. But for my online for my stuff on Instagram, I just do it through either like iMovie if I'm doing something a little bit longer, or I'll do it just on my phone, just through iPhone editing. And I will say that I have done like some really short videos on my online studio with my iPhone.
Yes.
And I just do it through iMovie, and it's totally doable.
It turns out well. Yeah,
it looks fine. I can't do like a 50-minute class on my iPhone like that, just because it would take forever, to upload and edit, blah, blah, blah. So I have to do it on my computer. But other than that, I do little short clips on my iPhone for my online studio sometime.
Yes. Andrew has a question here for you.
Uh-huh.
And it says, what is the best piece of advice a mentor has given you?
The best piece of advice a mentor has given me was start now. Don't wait until you think you have what you have.
Boom.
Because we'll use that as excuse for so long. Yes. Like I don't have a real camera. I don't have a studio, so, and I was doing that. I was like, well, let me wait until this happens. Let me wait until that happens. So yeah, that was my best piece of advice.
Yes. That is, yes, I agree, Noam. I agree.
Hey, Beyond Pilates. Thank you.
Yes. Have you met Noam? Ever had interacted with him at all?
No, not that I know of.
Okay, he's in Vancouver. Pilates instructor, trained with Jay Grimes.
Okay.
Beautiful studio, super smart guy. I had a great conversation. Check out that conversation with him.
Okay.
He's so passionate about the work and movement and going beyond the mat to just helping people understand how they move and why, and educating people. All good stuff. He's really, really good.
Oh, hey, I never know. We have not met.
Yes. Well, let me introduce you.
Hey guys, hi from Vancouver. Hey people, Vancouver people.
Yes. Where would you recommend someone who is starting out in their Pilates journey with all the courses that are out there? Like, what would you say is a good starting point for them?
I can only speak on mat Pilates, obviously, because I'm not.
Okay.
The best thing to do is to find out what certifications are in your area, because when I first started, and I was thinking about getting my certification, my teacher was she was a stop Pilates instructor, and I had another teacher that was bossy. But when I looked for trainings for them, none of them were in Atlanta, and I didn't want to have Uni, and I didn't want to add the expense of travel and a hotel to get my training. So I personally picked Power Pilates because there was a studio that was close enough to me to drive to. Yeah. And, once you, find, a reputable training, and you're plenty of them. It's all about, a matter of taste, whether it be Fraser method or, if it's, Power or Bossy or Stott, whatever. I say to choose something that's near you, because you don't want to add the expense of travel and a hotel to get certified, because it's expensive enough.
It's expensive enough. And you know what's funny? It's funny that you mentioned that, because I agree. And for a lady who was taking my class and decided to go into Pilates, I researched, studios and found the closest one for her and recommended that, simply because Pilates is a continuing education. It's lifelong learning. So it really doesn't matter what you take to get in the door, as long as it's safe and it's correct.
Exactly.
In terms of, like, you know what I mean? Like, not saying like I have to have this certification and this person, but if you have something and it whets your appetite, chase after it after that. But like, get yourself comfortable, because there's so much to learn beyond the theory. Like, just moving around the mat and having your verbal cues and finding that economy of words and tactile cues. There's so many layers to what we have to learn that just
absolutely.
You got to get it started.
Yeah.
Let's see, Andrew's question here. You might have answered already, but how long did it take you to build your online business?
So I'll take it in two parts. So the first part of building the online business is building the inventory for the, for the classes. So and that was one of those things where I was kind of not listening to my own advice. I was like, well, I need, 100 videos before I can launch this thing, which that was crazy. So the first thing I did was just start to build the inventory, building, a variety of classes. And that, that'll take as long as it takes you to film and edit your inventory. So that's the first thing I did. And then after you have that inventory, you have to have someone build a site, which I'm lucky enough, again, to have a person in my home that did that. But then, then you have to, build the site. And then there's a membership component that's a part of it. And then there's a payment part, so you have to build that. But as far as having success, because I think when people say, how long did it take to build a business? I think people are saying, like, how long did it take to make money doing it?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever your definition of success is.
Right, whatever your definition is. So I'll use that definition, I think, because that's for most people. So I would say, like, in the first 3 months, I stopped breaking even and start making a profit. And when I say that, I mean the time. You have to put your own time in as part of how much money you are making or not making, because the time it takes you to, film the videos and edit the videos and all that stuff, and you're paying the platform that you're on, you're paying your your Square swipe, you're paying your membership fee. So then after all that, how many clients does it take, or members does it take for me to actually make some money? So I would say the first 3 months I started making a little bit of money, just a little bit, and and so, like, okay, this is okay. And then about I would say like 6 to 9 months in, I felt like, okay, I can still do this, because I feel like I was not just doing it to pour out. I felt like I was making a little bit of money. Yeah. So it's been just a little bit over 2 years. And I mean, my membership ebbs and flows. Like, some days I'll have, 5 or 6 people joining, and then it'll be a week and no one joins, and someday I'll have, 60 members, and then it may drop down and 20 people may cancel in a month,
Right. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, you got to kind of stick to it. And as long as you're enjoying it, and as long as you're making money, because that is the goal. Let's get real here, because you are going to have to pour money out into, for this online studio. So
yes,
I hope I answered that.
What's your connection with Sonia? Are you guys like cousins?
We're people of color. We're people of color cousins.
Okay. Because my Indian friends do that too, right? Everyone's their cousin, everyone's their uncle.
I know.
You're like, is that really your uncle? Or is that just like someone that you've just known your whole life? Like,
it's so funny because I'll tell you. So my maiden name is Price, and Sonia's name is Price. So
yes.
When we figured out our last names were Price, we started calling each other cousins, like, immediately, just like, But yeah. It's so funny but we have a genuine connection, because once we DM'd each other forever, and then we met in person, and it felt like we felt like family, like, instantly. So yeah.
Yes.
So that's why we're cousins.
There you go. I honestly feel like all you guys are family too. Like the whole Black Girl Pilates crew and Melvin Brothers of Pilates, like Ed and Norris and all those guys, like, legit. I just love the community that we've created here, and just the passion for movement. It's amazing.
Hey, Alexa. And I mean, I don't want to get all, deep and sad, but I mean, I think just as a people that was broken apart, I think that we kind of, we try to grasp onto any connection we have, even if we're not
Yes.
really related,
Hmm.
because a lot of us, we have no idea,
Right.
if we are related. So I think that
Yeah.
we're kind of desperate to be connected in a lot of ways. So
Mhm.
any small glimmer of a connection, I think we latch on to it a lot of times, So,
Yes.
yeah.
Low impact faith. I want to.
Hey,
Who is
Alexa.
that again? Alexa. That's right.
Hey,
Yes.
Alexa.
Yeah. Gonna have her on, and Uni. I want to have them both on at some point. I just love these conversations that we have. They're just so genuine, authentic, and people really appreciate seeing the person behind the brand, right?
Well,
So
I appreciate it. I do. I mean, I agree. I'm so glad you do these because I think that people do kind of have an image,
yes.
of you. And I think it's good just to be, I don't know, just a little more authentic. And I think it just to give people, an idea of like, okay, so she's not always so serious, or oh,
Right.
she is kind of funny, or oh, she started off just like me, or whatever the case may
Hmm.
be. So yeah,
Yeah, that's their connecting points.
yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. All right. So I'm going to sign you off here and say my goodbyes. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming on today. I really
I
enjoyed it,
appreciate
Micki.
you.
You
See
are
you later.
awesome. Okay, take care.